I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at thedove.us.
Delighted to have back with us today Bill Gallagher. Bill heads up TeamWorks. He's also a family and pastoral counselor at Trail Christian Fellowship. And we're going to talk to him today about something you probably have heard about, or maybe you be even involved in, and that is the color personality chart. Yes. I think it's called You're Wired That Way, or You're Weird That Way.
Well, it depends who you're talking to and who you have to deal with.
Yeah.
But Wired That Way is the profile that I use when I go into organizations or churches and work with counselees. And it's all predicated on work that Florence and Marita Littauer have been around Christian circles for 40 years writing books. Right. It's the format that they use, and so I use that as a template when I go into organizations and stuff like that.
End up being an incredible tool when you find out what the personality makeup is of a person, and these things have been legitimized throughout ever since they came into being.
4th century BC, father of Greek medicine, Hippocrates, came up with the theory that there's 4 different personality types because of their bodily fluid levels, which is kind of an interesting theory. And then medicine ruled it out, but stayed with the concept for years. So authors and Christians, speakers, psychologists have used these concepts for years. And of course, once you understand the 4 different temperaments or personality types, I use colors because they're easy to remember, you read the scripture, you see that the apostles were definitely wired differently than one another, and you see, Moses. You kind of start to see that side of the people God used in the scriptures.
All right. We've heard the yellow, the red, the blue, the green, and we've heard was it cats, dogs, rats, and raccoons?
Well, that was Gary Smalley. Gary Smalley authored a book about the 4 animals, and he talked about the lions, the beavers, the golden retrievers, and the otters. That was his 4 animals. And people have used a lot of different, I have a little bit of information that I come up with on the 4 seasons, so people have been writing on this for years.
Why is this important?
Well, from my standpoint, as a consultant and as a counselor and as a pastor and as a married man and a father and a grandfather, I would say probably 65–75% of relational differences are personality driven. They trump gender and how someone was raised. Personality differences, I'm going to give 65–75% when it comes to relationships. In the workplace or in the home, doesn't matter.
Wow. All right, the 4 categories. Let's walk through these a little bit.
Okay, well, I'll just simply use the colors that we use. First of all, there's the red. Now, the red would also be referred to as type A. Perry, I see a little bit of jalapeno in you. So the red is referred to as a type A. Very, very decisive. They are usually found in leadership within an organization or even a home. They're very decisive. They're quick on their feet. They strive for excellence. They're visionaries, goal-oriented, but then they come with a set of weaknesses as well. Although when I usually talk to Reds, they tell me, don't tell me what my weaknesses are. Oh, okay. But classic weaknesses for a type A Red would be a little bit bossy, impatient. Of course, you don't relate to any of this, Perry. Always right. I mean, I've talked to Reds before who on paper, in a court of law, I could prove them where I was wrong and they were right, and they still felt right.
Okay.
And you know what? They're very, very bright. Most often they are, but the way they tell people they're right is so arrogant, nobody cares if they're right. Anyhow, that's a weakness, okay? And sometimes they put production over people. So it's all about the bottom line. So that would be a weakness for a Red.
Okay.
Great people, leaders of life have to have them in our life.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're CEOs, they're football coaches, they're little girls on the playground making all the rules before the game even starts. Reds are born to lead.
Okay. And they find a way to do it.
And they find a way to do it.
All right, what's the next one?
Okay, then you got blues. Blues would be more structured, organized, very detailed, a good eye for accuracy. We find them in HR. We find them as CPAs, education, healthcare. They have a good balance of a strong work ethic and then care and compassion for people. So they're the good balance there. They are team players. Now the Reds would be the decisive ones in an organization. They have the vision and the plan, but the Blues are the ones that are detailed that get you to the plan.
Okay.
Whereas Reds can't be bothered with details, they just have the vision. Okay. So Blues are executive assistants. They are the ones that deal with the charts, research, so on and so forth. Very kind people. My wife Jenny is a Blue. I love Blues. They're awesome. They do have some weaknesses, however. They have a tendency to be too perfectionistic.
Oh.
So that simply means sometimes the bar is too high, and Blues need to learn how to lower the bar for family and some of the people they work with. Blues are on what I call a lifelong self-improvement program. And they get a little bit frustrated when no one else wants to be on their program. They have a high sense of fairness, and sometimes life isn't fair, and they struggle when life isn't fair, and they seem to have a tendency to want to right all of the wrongs in life, and they're very, very high on justice. I have a city manager friend who has a Blue son, 6 years old. He was in a bathroom one day, a school bathroom,
okay,
and another little boy was bullying him, and the dad said, well, did you push him back? Did you tell the teacher? What did you do, son? And he said, I told him he wasn't making good choices with his life. Totally Blue.
Totally Blue.
They want to right the worlds of their wrongs. Fairness is huge. Compassionate people.
Are they impatient?
They can be impatient. They really struggle when they have, when someone gives them constructive criticism. They probably handle failure the worst. What I like to say about Blues is you don't have to put a guilt trip on them. They do fine on their own. So they're very, very hard on themselves.
Really?
Great people to have around, though. Very, very organized, very structured.
All right. We're talking to Bill Gallagher, and we're talking about the personality color charts that's so predominant out there. And maybe you've taken the test. If you haven't, I would suggest that you do.
Yes.
And you have somebody that works with. By the way, you can contact Bill. This is what he does.
Yes, we'll have this on the screen in terms of if they need me to do a presentation or a workshop, whatever. They can order them individually, and we'll have that information on the TV as well.
Yeah, because this is really where and I have to tell you, as a person who manages various personalities, especially in a ministry like this, and you're pastoral counsel, so
yes,
you see all of those things.
Yes.
This is extremely helpful because what you're going to benefit from learning this is how to approach people.
Yes. I mean,
I think that's key, isn't it?
If you live or work with someone, and most of the listening audience does, that you have a hard time understanding, and it's created incredible conflict. Once you understand these concepts, you will be able to not personalize who they are and what they say as much. You'll have a lot more tolerance because you'll simply say, it's not about me, this is simply who they are and how they're wired. It is incredibly helpful.
All right.
Incredibly.
Let us take a quick break here, and we'll come back and we'll get into this a little bit more. Bill Gallagher's with us, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back with Bill Gallagher, and we're dealing with the color chart, better known as you are wired that way, whether you're a yellow, red, green, or blue. Now, you may have a little of everything mixed in, but what are you led by? And that's the one that we're trying to figure out. If you've never taken this test, you can contact Bill at TeamWorks. He has a consulting firm that comes into companies and ministries and works with your staff and everything, and helps you in conflict resolution, helps you with these kind of issues in your team. And he's also a family counselor out at Trail Christian Fellowship, so we'll get into some of those issues as well. All right, we covered pretty much red and blue. What about the green and the yellows?
Well, the greens are very, very lovely people. They're very, very logical. We find them in IT or computer programming. They're dentists. We find them as forest rangers, commercial fishermen. And the reason is they work well alone. So finally, frequently, they are siloed off by themselves in companies and things where they don't need a lot of attention. They're also mediators. That would be my second color. My first color is yellow, which we'll talk about next. My second color is green. So it's the green that's the mediator in me. Greens are negotiators, arbitrators, mediators, social workers, counselors. They have the capacity to listen carefully and surmise what the concerns are and whatever the problem is that they're dealing with. Now, if my yellow in counseling shuts up long enough, the green kicks in, and I can really, in about 15, 20 minutes, and of course a lot of it's about the Holy Spirit's work in our life too as Christians, can kind of sense what the issue is. That's very important for green. So they're very kind people, they're very friendly, fair, very, very balanced. It's interesting because frequently greens are promoted in the workplace to higher positions, but as you know, management can be a lot different than just regular employee, and so they're promoted because everybody loves them, but they don't do as well sometimes because they absolutely hate conflict. The weaknesses of a green is that they hate conflict, they learn how to dodge it, avoid it, best listeners in the world, not as good communicators. And I have to work with them on learning how to assert themselves. Because greens are too passive, and then they have what I call, Perry, biannual snaps. They blow up a couple times a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Never met an angry green, couple of resentful ones, though.
Okay. Yellow, the butterfly of the bunch.
Yellow's the best color. That's the color. No. Butterfly is a good description.
Yeah.
They're excellent in marketing, public speaking, counseling. As a physician, they're great pediatricians because they love children. Children love them. I was a third grade teacher as a yellow. I have kids to this day in their 30s now tell me how much they love my class. When I ask them what they learned, they really can't remember. They just remember going to the park, playing games with Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah.
But yellows are fun-loving. They have a good sense of humor, very, very friendly. However, they can be scattered. They can be a little flippant if it comes to conflict. It's like, oh, it'll be all fine.
Yeah.
So we have a tendency not to be good at filing or keeping calendars. We're more spontaneous but ever so charming at it.
Are you last-minute people?
Absolutely, last minute. I drive the reds and blues nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know why it is, but we yellows talk among ourselves, you know. And we think that, well, you know what? If you prepare too far in advance, you'll forget what you prepared. And really, we don't want to miss out on any fun. So we wait till the last minute. There have been children, yellow children on playgrounds, that rather than going to their classroom or the bathroom to go to this bathroom in the school to go potty, they pee their pants on the playground.
Because they don't want to miss anything.
They don't want to miss anything, and hopefully us older yellows outgrow that problem. But,
well, I wanted to tell you about that. No.
Yeah. And then now learning how to approach these colors is very, very important.
All right, let's go back to the beginning. How do you approach a red, a high energy, very determined?
Well, reds are bottom line communicators. They speak in bullet form. Every red that I've ever met in their life has a goal in every conversation. Okay. So you have to hook a red in. If you want that red to be interested, you have to hook a red in a few opening sentences. And I got a classic example. I work with fire departments and local government as well, and I was working at a fire station or a fire company one time. And, you know, fire and rescue, they have fire stations, and guys live with one another,
right.
You know, and they always have a captain at each house station.
Right.
Captains are usually red, and this is what I said. This is how you should not communicate with your red if you have a flat tire on the fire engine. You come back into the station. How's it going out there, guys? Well, Captain, I was driving up the highway. And all of a sudden, when we were going past Taco Bell, he's already exhausted because he doesn't know where you're going. And you're going to lose him. He's going to glaze over. So this is how you hook in a red and approach a red. How's it going out there, guys? Got a flat tire. What happened? I was driving up the highway. And now you have his attention. So people that ramble on and on and on and don't have a goal will lose a red in seconds. They'll start glazing over.
Wow. Okay. How do you approach a blue?
Very carefully. Blues are so generally overwhelmed, busy, and rarely caught up. So they're probably the busiest people on the planet. And so what I had to learn, being married to my lovely blue wife, Jenny, is it's very appropriate to ask her if it's a good time to talk. Now, I never knew that as a yellow, because for a yellow, it's always a good time to talk.
Yeah.
But you got to ask a blue if this is the right time. You approach them kind of with sensitivity. They're also processors. If you force a decision on a blue right now, you're not going to get one. They need time to think about it. They need time to process. They get back to you. Frequently, a blue will say no because they're overwhelmed. But as they think about your offer, your suggestion, they usually come back and go, you know, I think we can do that. So
is their first response no?
Generally, because they're overwhelmed and always busy.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. All right. What do we do with the greens?
The greens you approach very, very calmly. As I said before, they, of all of the things that they dislike in life, it's conflict. So if you have something heavy to share with a green or a complaint, you approach them very, very calmly. They do not do well with emotional, intense, conflictual. What I like to say about greens is conflict to a green, or coming fast at a green, approaching a green, is like driving over the mountain range in a snowstorm and at night, and the snow's coming at you, and you know they just have to pull off the side of the road.
Yeah.
So greens say, when you come at me, it's like this, and all systems shut down.
Oh.
If you're calm and they're also not quick on their feet. If you give them something to think about and say, let's talk about it tomorrow, they'll be more prepared.
So there's a little bit of a commonality between a blue and a green.
Yeah, blue and greens have introverted tendencies, and they both need time to think. Reds and yellows are more extrovert, very quick on our feet, probably talk too fast, too soon.
The other thing I'm hearing here is, because so often sometimes on a blue and a green, incoming information is instantly and initially received as negative, so they'll do this. Because they need time to process
Well,
it.
yeah, and then they don't want to fail. The green doesn't want to create conflict by a quick answer, and the blue doesn't want to fail with a quick answer. So they need time to process it.
All right, so how do we approach you yellows?
Well,
with a cup of coffee and a donut?
Yes. Casual friendliness is everything to us.
Yeah.
Friendliness, positive. We can't stand negativity. Can't stand it. You know, I've said that to Reds before, and they go, well, I'm not going to give fluff just because you want to hear it a certain way. I'm just going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I go, well, yeah, but you know what? You're not going to have a lot of yellow friends. And maybe they don't care. I don't know. But if you just put a positive spin on it and give us constructive criticism, we'll break our back for you. If we know that you care for us and you believe in us, we'll break our back for you. We can handle criticism. Just put a positive spin on it. We can't do darkness. The sky isn't falling for a yellow anywhere.
Yeah.
So just be casual, honest, and speak up in a positive manner, and we'll deal with it.
Wow. Are these traits universal? And what I mean by that question, Bill, is this. If somebody has had some trauma in their life, do these traits still penetrate through, or is the trauma
Well, I think that
these
the trauma brings a wounding, okay. So, I mean, when I talk to clients or people sometimes, I would say, you know, he's red and he's got a lot of strengths, but he's kind of a wounded red. So, yeah, they say past abuses, things like that, can magnify maybe the weaknesses of someone's color for sure.
Okay. So, for management, this is a real tool.
This is huge. I spoke in Portland one time at a place, it was at the Red Lion, and it was for police chiefs and fire chiefs. There's 550 police chiefs and fire chiefs.
Wow.
In 7 states. And you walk in, high ceilings, very intimidating for a public speaker. And, you know, 8 o'clock, 3 hours with these professionals. And you just got the feeling like you better not waste our time and get to the point and make this worthwhile. They loved it because I gave them instant tools. What this does is it gives people instant tools to understand people that have confused them and have been complicated for years. And you walk away and you go, I had a couple the other day, married 27 years. Where were you 27 years ago?
Oh, okay.
You know, so I would say it really simplifies complicated people.
All right. So this effort of trying to change somebody is just a waste of time.
You can just forget that. The better thing to do is approach them based on how they're wired.
Okay.
That's the more effective way to relate to people.
All right. All right. I would suggest, you can get a hold of Bill through Teamworks, and whether it's your church or your company, your group, whatever, you can make contact with him to have him maybe give you this little test called Wired That Way, and come up with the blue, yellow, green, whatever you may be, and take this as a tool. I can tell you this, we've done it here. I use it constantly. I'll find myself in a situation where I have to go back and refresh, and I go, oh, that's why I'm a red conflicting with the yellow, or I'm a red conflicting with the green, and I have to back off and say, okay, I got to approach this a little bit differently.
That's right, that's right. If you approach everybody the same way because that's just who you are, you're not effective, you're not going anywhere professionally.
All right, thank you, Bill.
All right, thanks, Perry.
All right, we'll see you next time. We'll grab that.